On this series, we are going to learn how to create a package in Laravel. So a package is basically a group of code, a code base that you'll create that will allow you to version it on the GitHub repository in this case, and where you will have access to it to then import it in your web applications. A package gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of the way you can structure your code. For instance, on my case, it's rarely that I start a web application and I use the default code base of Laravel. What I do is that I do a package, and inside that package I put all my files of my project, allowing me then to export it to GitHub after creating, of course, previously a repository, and then from there on maintain semantic versioning about that package. So let's, in this first episode, go to the point where we'll create a package and make sure that we bootstrap the service provider of the package that we are going to create on Laravel. So the first thing that I'm going to do is actually to create here a folder called packages, and inside I'm going to create a folder called, for instance, can be the name of your company. I call it Wago. And here I'm going to create website. So it means that I'm going to create a package here that will store all the files of my website application. So until here we just have these two directories, and we now need to create our first the composer.json file. So the composer.json is basically a configuration file that Composer needs to read to understand what kind of configuration on your package you will have there. So to do that, we can go here to a command line, and then you go to packages. Let's browse until the end of the path website. Packages, sorry, we go, and then websites. And you just need to write composer init. So composer init will start creating that composer file, that in this case composer.json file. So first thing is that Composer will ask you a lot of questions. So of course you need to have Composer installed globally on your computer. So in this case I'm going to say the name of my package, for instance Wago/website. That is basically the folder tree that I just created. Then I can say Wago website. That is actually one package that I need to create for my Wago company. Here also you can have Laraning, and by default it already assumes laraning.bruno.falcao@laraning.com, so you just click enter. Minimum stability, well, in the beginning you can put dev and not stable because you will start creating the package in, let's say, development mode. So you just put dev, and then the type of the package, it can be a project, library, composer plugin. In this case I will say it's a library, and license MIT, and then here you can define the dependencies. So in terms of dependencies, it asks you if you want to define your dependencies interactively. So I just click enter, and then I say search for a package. So I want the package Illuminate, because I'm going to depend my package on Laravel. So you need to have the Illuminate/support. And it says enter the version constraint that to require. So on our case, I'm just going to leave it blank to use the latest version. So I just click enter for you to see. So he's now searching for the package, and he found that there is the latest version is the 5.6 version. Now I want to put another one that is actually the PHP. And here I'm also going to leave it 7.1 version and nothing else. So I just click enter, and then I say, do you want now, attention that is now asking not the require, the libraries for the, let's say, your production environment, but now for the development environment, if you want to have a specific one. For instance, in case of testings, you can add the PHP units /PHP units on this case. Sorry, I just click enter, and then PHP unit /PHP unit, and I click enter again, and it says it found 7.1. Click enter, and now as you can see, it shows to you what's going to create on your composer.json file: the name, description, type library, require dev, as you can see, one here, license MIT, and then the auth. There is more information that you can put on this composer.json file, but for now we are not going to change it. So it says at the end, do you confirm generation? Say yes, and if you see it now, there is this composer.json file created. So we are now giving a big step to understand how we can now locate our package in the GitHub repository. When we upload our files, we are also going to upload this composer.json file, and when you have your real website, you can locate your package by using this Wago/website. That's the library name for your package. Okay, so in this name you call it the library name. Okay, so besides the composer.json, you might want to create a file called readme.md, because it's a file that Composer GitHub uses to read your documentation that appears on the library page in GitHub. And also you can have a you can also create a change log, so you can inform what is the kind of change logs that you're applying on your package. Okay, so here now we have again composer.json, changelog md, readme.md. So let's now create the minimum files just to bootstrap this package on Laravel. Okay, and from there on we'll see later on how we can put more things inside and how we can export it to GitHub. So here I'm going to create a folder called source. So normally it's a good practice just to have this folder called source, and then you put everything inside that is exactly your class libraries. So I just create this directory called source, and inside we are now going to put our service provider file. Normally by default I like to create a folder called providers. Providers, not a file but a folder. New folder, providers. And here I'm going to create the website service provider.php. So this file is the file that we are going to bootstrap on Laravel, and this is the, let's say, the service provider that we need to now run here. So we now need to pay attention to the namespacing. So I'm just going to show you what does this mean. So I'm going to start a PHP file, and I need to somehow start using namespaces on my package. So I'm going to call it namespace Wago, because it's as you see here, the name of my let's say company name. And then I put it like websites, and then from here I will locate these inside the source. The source is going to be my namespace base path, let's say. So inside the source, then we have providers, and we'll see in some seconds how we locate these in our composer.json file. So Wago /website /providers. This is where we locate this class, and of course now we need to create class website service provider. We'll extend service provider from Laravel, as you know, right? So here I'm doing add F5, and I'm going to add the Illuminate support service provider so we can use it. And now I'm going to create two methods, as you know. So we're going to create the boot, right? So here, until here, nothing new that you already know from the service providers, and public function. On this case, the register method. And we are starting to have our service provider that we want to do. So this website service provider. Attention that the name, as you know, the name that you give on the class, because of the auto load definition, needs to be the same here, so the composer can locate your class on the file. Now, what we are not still saying is how can composer locate this namespace prefix given this physical path for the source. So we define this on our composer.json file. Okay, so in our autoload attribute. So if you go back here to our file, you'll see that there is a lot of information that's already placed here, but we need to add more information here regarding how we can inform Composer where actually it should load this namespace prefix to our website package. So I'm going to create here an autoload attribute. And from here, I'm now going to inform how we locate that namespace prefix using PSR4. So here it's always the same when you put this attribute, and then inside you define that the namespace for the Wago /website in this case, and attention, it's exactly like this, like in this case the company name that comes from here, and then website that comes from here, and then I say it's located on the root path source. And basically what we are seeing here on our package is, okay, when someone imports our package, and as you know, the packages that you import are placed on this folder called vendor by default. Here you are saying that, okay, if I want to use a namespace Wago /website, from here on, I want you to use on inside my package the source. So it's located to the same, as you can see, the source is exactly on the same level as the composer.json, okay? So it's important that to mention this, because what comes here is the starting path inside the website. So I want to say, okay, everything that is inside the source starts using the Wago /website on this case. So for instance, in this case, Wago /website providers means that I enter the folder providers, and then I have this class there inside. Very well. So the next step now is to tell Laravel that we actually have a service provider that we need to bootstrap on the Laravel service provider initialization. And this is done here on the config app. So here you'll come to this part where it says the providers. And as you can see, there is a package service providers that is empty, and Laravel already puts this here, the tail already places here the zone. So all you need to do, as you can see here, there is already illuminate. So these ones are coming from the packages that are already installed by default. So for instance, illuminate /view service provider comes from the Laravel illuminate here on these parts. As you can see, source illuminate. Now you can say, okay, so where is this definition made on, this namespace prefix that is here? Well, guess what? There is also composer.json on the beginning of our code base of Laravel, and here you also have, for instance, in this case, you have the PSR4 here for the app that it's loaded there, and each time you do a composer require, it automatically loads the respective library here, in this case framework source illuminate. So if I go here to the file composer.json, everything that is here are the ones that we will load them, in this case on the source /illuminate library directory inside the Laravel framework package. Okay, so this part might be not so easy to understand in the first sentences, but you can again see it as much as you want, because the rationale behind it is always the same. On the PSR4 attribute, you need to locate where you have your namespace prefix, in this case the root prefix, pointed to a physical directory inside your package. So here all we need to do now in this file is just to say that we want to bootstrap our service provider. So you put Wago /websites providers, and then we say it's the website service provider So we are almost there. There is only one last thing that we need to do. There is to actually configure our package, our custom package namespace in the main composer.json file. So this is where actually when we do a composer dump autoload, he will recompile all of these namespaces so we can use. So the same thing that we said here, it's what we need to say in the composer.json file on your base directory, as you can see, on your base project directory. So this composer.json is the one that comes with Laravel. And on the autoload part, besides the app that is already configured here, you need to also add the ones that we just had here on this one. So it's more or less the same. And the thing is that this composer.json is located on the base tree folder that you have. So instead of saying source on this case, you need to say exactly where it is located to the same level. So in this case, as you can see, composer.json is on the root. So if we want to point to this source, you need to say that is on the packages. And then you need to say that is on the Wago. And then you need to say that is on the websites. And then you need to say that is on the source. And that's it. So wrapping up until now, we defined on the base composer.json where we can find our namespace prefix for our package, and then we'll identify the physical location for it. We construct our package, and then we run composer, our folder, and then we run composer.init to create this composer.json, and we add this piece here because when we import this library on a new web application, this part will be automatically understandable by the composer, and the namespace will be auto-loaded on your web application. So again, if I go here now to the website and I do composer dump autoload, it will regenerate my autoload file already with the Wago website on it. So it says generating autoload files, and it's done. So now if I go to the Laravel and then on F5, well, it says class Wago, website provider, web service provider not found. So let me just take a look here on the error. So the mistake was I am on the wrong folder when I made the composer dump autoload. So I'll do it here. Because you need to run composer on the same directory where you have your composer.json file. Okay, very well. So it made everything. And now if you go here and do an F5, voila. So how can you see that your web service provider is being bootstrapped? Well, simple. Let's just do a dump and die and just write, we are loading our package service provider. And as you can see, we are loading our service provider. So that's it for this first video tutorial. Again, wrapping up, as we saw here, we create the composer.json file. We add this autoload where the trick is to point it correctly here in terms of your namespace prefix and your physical directory. We also put the same on the main code base so we can use it directly in our product, in our web application now. And we also go to the configuration here, and on the config.app, we bootstrap it on Laravel, on the Laravel app configuration file. So when we start the Laravel application, it runs our boot web service provider method in this case. Okay, so this ends now the first lesson, and the next one we are going to see how we can load this package, how can we export this package into the GitHub repository, and from there on import it on our, let's say in an empty web application project. Thank you very much.